I just really got tired of digging into the same data over and over again.
It could have taken us a month or two to get back to them. At that point, the moment's gone.
When people tell me that something can't be done, then I'm the type of person who will look into something and get it done.
It's a one-stop shop where you can find data and information.
And so I was able to pull out the phone, pull up our website and say, here is the information right here.
We wouldn't have been able to advocate for ourselves to get this $7 million funding if it wasn't for the Data Hub work.
The moment felt like the hard work was worth it, and that there was going to be a meaningful impact that would be really visible to the community.
Our decisions are much more data-based, so we can make very good, accurate decisions in terms of moving forward.
It really helps show people the power of data and using data for proper decision making and how the data can have a huge impact in your community.
If every municipality could start to do this, right? And then we can maybe start to get a standardized ways of reporting out. And imagine a province-wide data exchange where we can all share data and learn from each other as we plan our communities.
A one-stop shop of data and insights for decision making. That's powerful. It takes a whole team of dedicated people who dare to dream and never give up to bring that powerful vision to reality. Let's hear their story. Let's welcome Frank and Geoff.
Thank you, Goehner. As a planner, it's often my job to orient people to the location I'm talking about. So if you're not familiar with where Oakville is, let me help you out. We're located halfway between Toronto and Hamilton, on the shores of Lake Ontario, sandwiched in between Mississauga and Burlington. And standard convention puts north at the top of a map. But for a lot of us in Oakville, we refer to north as the direction away from the lake. So that's why you'll often see maps of Oakville oriented like this, about 52 degrees off of north. This is our urban structure. It's an important part of Oakville's official plan and essentially guides how we plan for tomorrow in Oakville. Generally speaking, the green areas are our natural heritage areas, our parks and open space system. The blue is the employment. Yellow is our residential neighborhoods. And the purple areas are our growth nodes and corridors. These are intended to be high-density, mixed-use areas supported by higher-order transit, like the existing Lakeshore West GO line, as well as future bus rapid transit on Dundas and Trafalgar in Oakville. One of the areas that we've been focusing on recently is Midtown Oakville. And I'm going to use Midtown to show how we've been using GIS and Esri tools to help us develop policies for these areas, as well as assist in our development review. So let's take a closer look at Midtown. And our task was to update our policies so that they would achieve a minimum of 200 people and jobs per hectare, but then also determine an appropriate maximum. It's important to set a maximum because it helps with planning the infrastructure that's needed to accommodate that growth. So the animation I'm about to walk you through is what we used to help explain how we did that to both town council and the general public. The first thing we needed to do is figure out where could development and redevelopment happen within Midtown. So we start with the existing parcel fabric. And then we remove places that can't be developed, like our existing rights-of-way, our existing parks and open space, the railway corridor, as well as other public utilities. And then we integrate the future road network that we have proposed for Midtown. And last, we add a future conceptual parks and open space system to that mapping. And what you're left with are these blue blocks, these blue areas. And we were able to take these blue blocks and bring them into ArcGIS CityEngine. And then using CGA rules that we're developing in-house, we were able to lay out building footprints across the area. And then generate 3D massings for various scenarios. This one happens to be the minimum amount of development that we would need to meet our 200 people and jobs per hectare requirement. As the rules build out the model, gross floor areas are reported out for each of the stories as they're built. And then using a base set of assumptions, we're able to get the model to estimate the number of units that would be created, the amount of office and retail space that would be generated, and then calculate an estimate for the residents and jobs that would be created by these scenarios. We then took this model and were able to create a dashboard. And as you can see here, this scenario produces about 205 residents and jobs per gross hectare, which is about 21,000 residents and jobs. The white numbers you see here represent the heights of the buildings in stories, which was really important for our town council and the public specifically. And in this scenario, the tallest building ends up being 25 stories, but generally it's about a 9 or 10-story building. You can also click in on various blocks with pop-ups that have more of the detailed indicators that were produced by the model. And you can also select more than one block to get that, and you'll see the numbers over here on the left-hand side update. And this is really useful if you have a proposal that may encompass a couple of these blocks. You can then compare what's being proposed to the model itself. We also did the same for the maximum scenario and brought this into a dashboard as well. One of the things that we really needed to emphasize with council and the public was that this model was not meant to represent what will exactly get built at the end of the day. It was more of a representation to allow us to model out and test the policies to see what they would result in. So you can see here the overall density ended up being about 485 in this theoretical max build-out scenario for about 50,000 residents and jobs combined. And you can quickly flip back and forth to compare. The CityEngine model was also very useful, we discovered, for a number of other things during our public engagement. This here is a screenshot of a video that we created and posted on the town's website to help explain some of the concepts within our proposed policies a little bit better. And the model really made creating the visuals quite simple and straightforward for this purpose. The model also helped us create higher quality renderings that I worked with our urban design team on to create for one of our public open houses. These are 2 panels from one of those open houses to display that work. And you may notice that there are QR codes on one of the panels. And this allowed attendees at the public open house to pull out their smartphones, click on the QR code, and then immerse themselves in a number of 360-degree photospheres. Our hope was that this would help people better be able to visualize what the implications of our policies could be, and then give them the time to look around at their own pace to see what these policies might result in. We also discovered that this modeling helps us with site-specific proposals that we might receive. We may get a site plan concept submitted, or in this case, a landscape plan, and we'd like to see a 3D visualization of what this concept might be. At times, the applicants do provide 3D models, such as the SketchUp model that we're able to bring in. But I've also found that sometimes the models submitted by applicants are extremely detailed and can be quite cumbersome bringing in when all we're looking for is a fairly straightforward massing. So what we were able to do is we can just sketch in GIS, using the 2D plans as a guide, the floor plates for the buildings, apply our CityEngine rules to them, and create fairly quickly some 3D massings that really help us look at the scale that we might get. And it may be a little bit more detailed, which might be better than just a simple block massing. And like the CityEngine model, we're also able to estimate what the units might be or how many people and jobs might be produced by this application. And now I'll let Frank show you a little bit of our planning and data hub.
Thanks, Geoff. I'm always blown away at all the stuff that you're doing with CityEngine within the town. So Geoff and I are always getting asked by our CAO, mayor's office, people in the general public of where is the growth happening in Oakville? How many proposed developments do we have? How many approved units do we have? how many housing starts do we currently have? So at the direction of our CAO, we were asked to develop our Town of Oakville planning hub. And working with many departments, we came across that we decided to build out some dashboards for development applications, building permits, committee of adjustments, various community profiles, as well as best planning estimates. If we jump into the development applications, that brings us into a site-specific page directly for this. Inside of it, we're showing information that is directly connected into our Amanda system. If we pop it open into a bit larger site, we can see right here that we currently have about 226 applications active inside of the Town of Oakville for about 40,000 proposed units. Also, the information that you see on the side here, this is all live directly from our Amanda system, which is what we use for permitting. So if a permit gets updated today, the following day, the information on this site is automatically updated. Also, if we were to scroll down, we can go to one of these sites, and we'll click on, we'll go right here. And you can see right here that we have a site for 60 stacked townhouses. Again, we can click on the information to get more information on it. But then we can also start seeing other pieces such as the total number of proposed units that we have, the total, and then broken down by unit type. One of the big things that we wanted to do is make sure that we put definitions inside of our sites. We know that within planning, they have a lot of their own little lingo that they like to use. So what does it mean when we start talking about, what does the OPA mean? What does certain statuses mean? And we just lost it, but that's okay. So what do we mean by clearing conditions? You can see that we put clear definitions directly inside of it. The other piece that we also did, if we scroll down, we can give it a spot where you can directly download the data. At the same time, we also create a site directly for building permits. Again, this data is from our Amanda system, and it gets updated daily. And these are some of our most used sites that we have at the town. Up in North Oakville, inside of here, this is where the bulk of our growth is actually happening. And in South Oakville, while it looks like there's a lot of building permits, this is a lot of tear down rebuilds of houses. Again, we can then click around and get whatever information we'd like and have the same definitions and breakdowns. Lastly, the last page that we created is for best planning estimates. And this is a series of sites, this is a site that was developed with planning estimates from the area municipalities. So currently in 2021, we had about 220,000 people living in the Town of Oakville. But as we progress up to 2051, it's supposed to go up to about 440,000. But with the influx of new people is going to come more units and more employment growth. So we can see by 2051, we're supposed to go up to about 170,000 units within inside of the Town of Oakville, starting currently at around 73,000 units. Now, one of the pieces that we always are getting asked is, what is going to be the growth of certain areas within inside the town? So if we were to scroll down to the Midtown that Geoff was referring to, that population is supposed to go up to about 32,000 by 2051. And with the new population, will become employment of about 17,000 people. And with that, we have people and jobs forecasting. So these tools have been instrumental for the Town of Oakville, and it's helping us to generate numbers, saving time for staff members, as well as being used for helping us to get funding from various different departments and agencies. And this is some of the tools that the Town of Oakville is using for planning for tomorrow. Go on.
Thank you very much, Frank and Geoff.